Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the review. And you're here in the DST show. And I just want to say, at least the most positive thing is congratulations I can give to Becky Lynch having a child. Didn't know why she couldn't have vacated it so much earlier. Or made thanks to the circumstances. I guess this was supposed to be a particular surprise. In my opinion, I'm happy that she has a kid. Secondary one is who gives a fuck? If they were trying to do circumstances like this while she was like the height of her career, why now would it be the best thing for Seth Rollins to bust a nut while she's having the longest reigning champion? When she's the longest reigning champion in the business at this point of her career. It could have been better to just drop the title off to Shayna Baszler in her last title defense, since it's been over like 6 or 7 weeks since she's been on TV. But circumstances kicked the bucket. I think they still wanted Becky Lynch to be booked strong to a woman that just only spent a few months in the main roster, even though she already blew out of the water in the Elimination Chamber with the majority of the singles competitors in just under like 15 minutes. So, yeah. It was a great, shocking moment to see Becky have a kid. The worst thing to see Asuka celebrate with spewing Japanese out the fucking water. Champion, champion, champion. Then she comes Becky. It's goddamn weird. It's awkward. I love Asuka. She does deserve this more than anybody else because, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I'm not just saying this because everybody else says it. They can say whatever they want. They can say that it's comical, it was entertaining, it was unique, at least for a Money in the Bank ladder match. In my opinion, it was corny. It felt like an indie budget crap, sloppy way how to do just regular ass cameos. One wasn't even a Doink the Clown. Some of that had John Laurinaitis on his scooter, like people want to remember. John Laurinaitis was GM of both Raw and SmackDown, and of course, whatever the fuck that food fight segment was with Paul Heyman. But that's from the past. I think I would have already reviewed Money in the Bank at that point. But Jesus Christ, uh, this was a decent feel good moment, but with no explanation over her absence on TV. They kept replaying the moment like, fuck me, there's been many other female wrestlers that were pregnant. Some of these people retired early in their careers, and yet, like, Becky Lynch is, like, given this huge pedestal. Like, I understand she's already married to the top guy in the company. What's the top guy in the company feel like? Doing? He, like, gouged out goddamn, Rey Mysterio's eye somehow for some shock value moment. I guess to consume some heel heat, even though nobody's around, he just put Mysterio's face on the edge of the steel step and just absolutely gouged the shit out of it. Seth, oh, what the fuck? Came around with this blank expression all because he lost the WWE Championship match. I don't know why he's still trying to be treated as preachy little bitch still, but I guess that's his primordial character. Match ended off DQ. No one cares. Next up was another DQ match involving Humberto Carrillo that has been on TV in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and yet he comes around losing to Bobby Lashley off the goddamn Master Lock. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just say a full Nelson or something. I think a Dragon Lock or something. That's how he lost. When the hell was this established that Bobby Lashley had a submission finisher? At all. Earlier, we had a talk involving MVP probably trying to be a manager, have a managerial position for Bobby Lashley like he did back in TNA, coming around when Bobby's done with you, he knows where to find me. And she just awkwardly screams out of nowhere. Like, Lana degraded herself so much from like a hot but fierce little manager for Rusev back in the day. Now she comes around feeling like she's a fucking housewife in a reality show, coming around married to this black dude, and it feels like none of this shit is mutual. It's so fucking awkward. I'm shocked that they still didn't bag this shit as soon as Rusev was released. Because particularly, I think this was a reason to get Rusev over thanks to the lack of TV time he had and injuries he suffered. So, what will be big enough? Put him in a fucking storyline with a black dude. Lashley was supposed to be that main event piece. This guy wasn't even in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So was many other guys that were more promising role into a fucking main event spot. But they give it to fucking Rey Mysterio, many other guys that have been established at the company. I don't get it. But I'll get more in depth come the. If you didn't see my Money in the Bank review, I'll just click into that. I won't send a link, bitch, because you could just check from the channel and you could see it. I had a moonsault. We had a few super kicks. There was some, of course, some hits on the steel on the ring post that got hit with the Minitron and the shit, but they still want to call it a steel post. Tossed. Lashley then tossed Humberto's face into it. Humberto was trying to go for a springboard boot until he got caught in a full Nelson, and then the Master Lock. It seems like he picked up the win. So congrats to him, I guess. Next up was Akira Tozawa getting jobbed by Angel Garza. Akira never picked up a win. Ever. Ever. And these are not going to be like borderline storylines because of the lack of shit they have at the point of recording these episodes. But Jesus Christ. He's still a perennial jobber. He came around with Titus Worldwide and 205 Live and shit, and he's supposed to be pushed as this hyperactive Japanese guy, and he continues to get jobbed because he's just some Japanese midget that's just going to be kicking, doing a snap German suplex, and doing a couple meteoras, and then Angel Garza that still doesn't have that much promo time except he speaks a bit in Spanish and he does this shit. Oh, it's like he's trying to melt a lozenge in his throat while he's trying to fucking speak. It's weird. Nobody wants that in the WWE. But he's a good wrestler. And he's Hispanic, so that gives an excuse to use forceful diversity, even though that doesn't get ratings. We still pack in 1 mil for a show that literally has no excuse to be bad. Like you have a high production team. You have all the money in the world to get one of the premier TV ready looking superstars you can get. You can get Akira Tozawa. Who the fuck gets like Akira Tozawa toy unless you're a real hardcore fan? I guess, in your opinion. What is WWE trying to sell to? Instead of an interior source. None of it feels like no fan can actually pick up and watch WWE unless they look at the dumbass of top 100 moves or spots of 2020, and then they come around watching the full show and it's like, oh my god, you actually watched 3 hours of this shit? It's that agitating. Akira Tozawa does show up a couple moves, Hurricane Rana, then the pants were off. I don't care. He came up with some descriptive comments that he kept talking to Austin Theory for some apparent reason, showing off his moves, even though there's been no shown of, any, like, break apart. Like, they're just a filler faction for the OC. Just, they have a hotter manager. I mean, they have a hot manager. That's pretty much it. Then the wing clipper was on Akira Tozawa for the win. Then he came around staring at fucking Austin Theory for some apparent reason. I still don't know why he's in the group. I think they're just denouncing him because he's not Hispanic. And he comes around. And then McIntyre comes because he still has a gripe with these guys that haven't even shown to be that effective on Raw. Like, the most effective person is currently just Andrade. And he just loses to anybody that's not holding the WWE Championship. Or anybody that does hold on to the WWE Championship. They had a champion versus champion match. McIntyre's first night as WWE Champion. And when he came back, like the week after Mania. The Raw after Mania. Because they showed a recap of him beating the Big Show. That had no rhyme or reason to fucking exist. These impromptu matches are fucking retarded. and it's supposed to bring some legitimacy, even though like a champion versus champion match should at least be like for two guys that are highly respected on their field. It should at least be a once in a lifetime thing, or at least be a huge title defense. This is the second time these guys wrestle. What's the prestigious part about this? It was just weirdly impromptu, and it just hit a Claymore kick by Austin Theory by a fake out by both Andrade and Angel Garza, and everybody just started laughing. What a faction! I guess it's a faction, or just they're Zelina Vega's clients. I'm not ensuing that Alistair and her have an open relationship. I'm just joking. That's effed up. Still, Jesus Christ, this match was all nearly not as good as the match they had back a few weeks prior, but there was no one cared. Of course, no one cared because nobody was in the building, and logically, I don't think anybody would care because they already had the same match. Nothing would really change except Andrade would try to sell a bit of the arm and even use a hammerlock ADT from the top. Claymore kick was negated for I think an elbow, and then it came with McIntyre coming with a Claymore kick on Andrade after a couple runs on the rope. There was a headbutt. It was just the same match that they had weeks prior. And of course, he's a fighting champion. He's a sexy Scotsman. He came just deepening the fact that he has Baron Corbin in a brand split invitational, or their equivalent to C to say, this brand split isn't really giving us money. Or the brand split sucks. Or why the fuck we brought it back. And you can just tell because they come with this many interchangeable segments, changes, weird ways they operate over the past fucking 4 years since they brung it back. And nothing else to get ratings, make the wrestlers more popular. Weird gimmick changes, the fastest amounts of releases in years. Over 20 releases in just 1 week. Most guys that have a loyal tenure with the WWE. And then we have all these ligament features, social media acting like a cut, ruining wrestlers' personalities, and they're really selling on TV, a reality show, or anything else they do in the media. It's fucking retarded. I hate the brand split for this generation. That shouldn't even be feasible on trying to rebuild WWE as their PG motive. And I thought they were going to do that the time when they unified the championships back in 2013. And 2015 was, I think, supposed to be the Kickstarter for that, or the PG era. And now they come around making this awkward-ass brand split. Was, I guess, supposed to give the jobbers particular TV time, but that's what they're giving, jobber TV time. It sucks. I fucking hate it. And you can disagree with me in the comment section, but I'm just owning it up here that I think the brand split sucks. And this is like the second time they do something like this because they had the wild card effect like last fucking year, January of last year, and then they were noticing that none of the brand split is selling, and they already had a one-sided draft because they gave a majority of the wrestlers to a TV show that has a 3-hour fucking slot. How does that make any fucking sense? And they have nothing to diversify what's different about both brands. Both of them have a tag division. Both of them have a women's division. Both of them have a fucking heavyweights division and a mid card. Nothing makes a difference. None of it feels like it's a different show except one's on Fox with a different stage. One's on Raw with a different stage, but the pay-per-views will look the fucking same. It's fucking retarded. I hate it. It's dumb. Oh god. Next up, we had the return of the Iconics. Before Word, we had an interview involving Seth Rollins from his tough loss against Drew McIntyre and looking shocked as all hell because obviously he's still with the Messiah gimmick and shit like he's destined to happen. He seems so blown away after having a handshake with McIntyre, and then Rey Mysterio comes around just saying to Father, congratulations. Sad to know what happened to Rey Mysterio later on in the afternoon, but yeah, we had the Iconics returning. The perennial jobbers that are undefeated against local talent that literally show no promo ability, and they have lacked in premier skill, and their tag team wrestling skill is fucking pedestrian, in my opinion. I'd rather watch Superstars in 2010 than this. I'd rather watch Saturday Morning Slam. Shout out to the guy who made that video. That shit was funny as hell. God damn it. It's just poor that they had an impromptu match where the Iconics won. Ended off a roll up, obviously, because they don't want heels looking strong. Unless you're Brock Lesnar. It just came out of left field after Peyton Royce came with a roll up. It was a couple of striking attacks. I don't want to go over the promos that just involved Dick crossing that this little thing has much screen time than you did. And they continued using the baby angle because, oh my god, the Iconics are irrelevant. And it's so dumb. It made zero. It was so corny as well, man. Yet these assholes still want to give them TV time because I guess they need something to fap to. The match was just borderline pedestrian. And we already won into Money in the Bank that every match, thanks to the empty crowd, and that there was no hype factor, or they were still going 100%. And sometimes it felt like they were going halfway. At times, it felt like I was just watching an episode of SmackDown. I don't care about the Iconics win. The women's tag team titles hasn't shown any level of prestige. There's just no uniqueness, and it's just anybody who's tagged with each other. Like, none of them feel like a legit tag team. And yet they just do it for equivalency of we need something more for the women to do. Yet we give the cruiserweights their own TV show. What the fuck is wrong with us? And you don't even give the cruiserweights that amount of goddamn respect. The cruiserweights don't even show up that much on pay-per-view except if it's kickoff. Cruiserweights have just 205 Live, and sometimes they'll show up on kickoff shows to know that we still have a cruiserweight title, or the NXT cruiserweight title, and it ended up biting us all up the ass. Next up, R-Truth, Ricochet, and Cedric Alexander face off in a six-man tag against Brendan Vink, Shane Thorne, and MVP, and they wanted to make this pretty Ricky joke. For majority, we had flying clotheslines from Ricochet. Don't touch him in the ass, because you know that's gonna go for. Sorry, Brendan Vink. Running in Zaguri, a fake hit. Brendan Vink came no-selling some chops. I really didn't care what was happening, because I feel like this had no reason to exist other than R-Truth to continue with the fucking pun. And Brent and Byron Saxton to still think he's funny when he shows no character, because he's not getting verbally abused by Baron Corbin every week. And it just blows down because you don't have that much confliction or like that much of back and forth with three dudes on commentary, and it doesn't show any personality. It shows like they're not that invested into the match, except they'll be like, "Oh my god, what a spot!" and it's just fucking boring. They made the match boring. The commentary was just piss poor. It ended up with MVP losing somehow again, even though he just now developed this team. Yet the Iconics pin Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Fear 2, they did return, so it's obvious that you at least want them to look like they can become, like, threatening at least. And then Bobby Lashley came, beat the shit out of him. Why? Other than he associates with MVP, this match was completely crap. Next up, we had Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio tag to face off against Seth Rollins and his disciple Murphy. And the thing was just to display Seth Rollins was distraught of losing the WWE title. In my opinion, like, what the fuck? I guess this was good, alright basis of just showing how distraught Seth looked because he had plain expression like I fucked up. I fucked up. And I didn't pull out too? Yo, I'm a fucking failure. I didn't pull out. I didn't pull out. And it just ended up off Buddy Murphy just taking up a majority of the show, of the match, trying to drown on headlocks, running sentons, springboard moonsault. Aleister Black came in, obviously has a history with Murphy, and continued kicking the shit out of him until Rollins, I think, ended it off with DQ. After, I think, hitting him with a Mysterio with a weapon, then gouging his shit off the edge of the goddamn steel steps. It still ended off DQ. I guess to tell more of a story. Mysterio came run, gouging out, still in pain and shit, with Aleister Black watching until Seth Rollins tried to explain himself, until Murphy tried to jump along, because of course Aleister's fucking pissed off, because there was no reason for you to fucking do that. That was fucking retarded, and it came out of nowhere. And then it ended up with Murphy and Aleister fighting, so obviously we know that they're going to wrestle next week for probably a hype match with Rollins and Aleister Black for some apparent reason. Next up, we had Natalya versus Shayna. But okay, Natalya lost. You didn't even have to ask. You didn't even have to like go into full detail. Like, I'm not going to tell you what did Shayna do. Did she stomp on her arm? Did she kick her in the face? Did she use the sharpshooter? And this was over, disrespecting Becky Lynch, having no interest. Oh my God, she has a baby. Why would you get knocked up in the middle of your title reign? It made no fucking sense. Fucking retard. And obviously Natalya would somehow come to some avail because she has known Shayna for a while, and it just ended up, of course, with Shayna beating Natalya because Natalya is never going to be treated like a particular threat again, except probably as just veteran talent for her to just get jobbed in the heart line ends with you. Shit, like we know Teddy Hart still exists. TJ and of course Davy Boy Smith, or David Hart Smith if you watch wrestling as long as I did, then that's David Hart Smith from MLW. Stomp on her arm. It's a cross arm breaker. I don't really care. It ended off a running knee. Yay. Yay, a running knee. The same thing she did to like wipe her out and everybody else, with just jobbing out Natalya. Like, there is no particular storyline in the rest of this. Next up, we had Randy Orton laying down a wrestling match. Like, the most basic thing. And Edge is like, you're on, come Backlash. You and me. I'll take care of you for real this time, even though, shouldn't you go higher if it's another stipulation? I don't get that. And I guess they're trying to sell the Edge's injury would still play a factor over 9 years in the ring. Randy Orton came around awkwardly saying, "You're the better man, congratulations." And then obviously he has something more to say. It just felt like super corny. We knew that they were still going to do a one-off feud, or else they wouldn't have both of them in the ring. I guess, because Edge is already a Hall of Famer. There's nothing else to do but up, I guess. Yet they want to have a regular match after ending in a last man standing match, even though I feel like a steel cage match or something, to at least hide the faults of, Randy Orton's face looking fucking like it's fucking aging. Even we thought Randy is going to look the same for fucking ever. But he comes around with grays and looking like he has a bit of a wrinkle on his fucking face. And Edge is just standing blank like, oh my God, a wrestling match? I don't think I got the work rate like I used to. It's not going to be like Vengeance 2004. Oh, God, Vengeance 2004. Did you watch that match? Oh, my fucking God. The Intercontinental title. Oh, that had so many moves. Oh, my God. I think Randy did a crossbody and shit. I want to... How many stars did that got from Dave Meltzer? It's just... It felt so goddamn awkward. It was like it's such a basic challenge, and you're telling me Edge stays a blank on that? That that's so dumb. Especially guys that obviously should know each other to a T in the wrestling ring. Thanks they've wrestled each other for the longest time out of everybody on the roster so far. And you're telling me that the basis of him challenging because of a wrestling match, even though a last man standing match is more high risk. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. And I guess they're doing this for Backlash because obviously none of the main roster sells tickets. Makes a lot of sense, to be honest. And, oh god, I just don't care. I just don't fucking care. All I know now is just Backlash is back. And that's the only title that they bring back because I guess Judgment Day, Unforgiven, Vengeance, No Mercy is not PG for fucking faggots because you're still going to look at something called Crown Jewel and Roadblock and something called and they'll just slap in a random term that they got from some kind of fighting game or something that they thought sounds cool on a show and they'll just put it at, or make a match stipulation at pay-per-view. Just call Triple Threat a pay-per-view. We already called Fatal 4-Way a goddamn pay-per-view. TLC a pay-per-view. Extreme Rules a pay-per-view for some apparent reason. Even though nothing's wrong with One Night Stand or Armageddon or Bad Blood that you guys were supposed to bring back. But this was a bad show. This was a bad show. In any way, shape, or form, this is a bad show. They can come around trying to say that people are smarks or shit, or they're dissatisfied with the product. I watch this shit because I'm a fan of this, obviously, or else I wouldn't have over hundreds of videos of me reviewing Raw and SmackDown. So I don't get this show. Obviously, happening up a pay per view, they do nothing off McIntyre, just awkwardly fiddling with a heel faction for some apparent reason, even though he has no personal grappler. They show no reason to be a threat. The most awkward way for Edge to be like, oh my god, a wrestling match. After we had the last man standing match, and Edge like tongue tied for some fucking reason. Uh, uh, Raw and SmackDown Invitational for no fucking reason other than they can't sell shows in the brand split. Seth Rollins just weirdly eye gouging. Surprise, Becky Lynch is pregnant. R-Truth pins MVP. Again, like MVP is just a perennial jobber. Like, nothing felt like it made any fucking sense. Humberto just comes back to just get jobbed by Lashley. I guess, and the commentary sucked balls, man. Nothing felt like I could watch it, and I'm gonna rate Money in the and I already rated Money in the Bank as low as any show I've watched so far this year. And I thought the worst show was the Saudi event from just earlier this year. So, Jesus Christ. The only good shows I can remember so far was, of course, just goddamn Royal Rumble. And I didn't like the Elimination Chamber pay per view. But other than that, I think the Royal Rumble was literally the best pay per view I reviewed. Royal WrestleMania was just too fucking long for me, and it felt too choreographed. And the cinematic, they should have at least had one cinematic moment instead of two for both shows. One for both shows, and it just felt so fucking played out. I hated it, and obviously didn't. They can say how much times have they sold subscribers, of course, because nobody can make the event. So they cared about more fucking social media niggas than actual like viewership of their own for their own pay per view because they know how depleting the WWE network is for them as a whole. That they have to show something that they could have done on the network, like WrestleMania 3, and they showed on fucking FS1. It's just dumb. And whoever thought differently, please comment down in the comment section. Uh, maybe your view is particularly different from mine. I just thought that the show was mediocre. That's all I can say. It's DST Show. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more.